Hello, you're welcome to my channel. I'm glad to have you here. My name is Claire D. I am a kiddies fashion designer and a kiddies fashion tutor. Let's learn how to make a perfect turtle neckline for children, the one that doesn't gape and also does not give them any form of discomfort. If you want to see how I drafted out the neckline, check my tutorial on exaggerated hip and it will give you a hint on how I drafted that out. I started out with taking the measurement of the round neckline and it was 14.75, but I approximated it to 15. Then I also need a half circle flare, not full circle. So half circle is the circumference divided by 3.14. So since I approximated it to 15, it gave me about 4.75, which of course my paper was folded into two and I marked out the 4.75 inches. It also gave me an approximate of 4.75, not exact 4.75, but I'll show you what I'll do to just reduce it a little. Then I went ahead to just mark it out, the 4.75. Then you choose how thick you want the width to be. For me, I did 1.25 inches. But when you are doing this, still have the child's actual neck measurement in mind, so you don't make it too tight for them. For my child's measurements, the child I used for this dress, her round neck measurement was 11 inches. Okay, so I still had that in mind. Then I added half inch on the lower parts for sewing allowance, and I also added half inch on the upper part for sewing allowance as well. So when I'm cutting this out, I'm not going to add sewing allowance to my fabric again because I've added all the sewing allowances, okay, to cut it all out. The next thing I did was to reduce half inch from all those measurements. I approximated so many things. So I just reduced half inch from the lower part so it doesn't become too wide. Then I folded my fabric. You can choose to use a different fabric for lining and the main fabric as main fabric, okay? But me, I use the same fabric for lining and the same fabric for the main fabric, of course. So what I did was I ironed hasty on this, then I placed it and cut out the turtleneck. After cutting it out, ensure to notch your center point so that you can match it up with the center point of your dress. Move to the sewing table, right side facing each other. Pin down and ensure that all the points align. Please ensure that all the points align. Then you go ahead and sew on your sewing allowance. For me, just like you saw, it was half inch I used for my sewing allowance. So I just went ahead to sew half inch all the way around. After sewing your half inch all the way around, please just be careful at this point. When you start sewing, be very gentle, be very patient, okay? Because these are curves, of course. When you're done with that, the next thing you do is to notch it out. Notch it so that it relaxes well, and then the part that is serving as lining, you're going to top stitch on it. Top stitch as closely as possible to the seam line. You can see how mine is actually showing. Then we will move to the ironing table to iron this out. You can see how it's looking already. So on the ironing table, what I did was, after pressing it, I just went ahead to fold in half inch. The half inch that is serving as the sewing allowance, I folded it in. Can you see how neatly done this is? Okay, so I folded it in and I ironed it out so that when I'm sewing on my sewing machine, it's the crease line I'm going to follow. Okay, I'm following that line that is showing. Okay, that's as simple as that. The next thing I did was I went ahead to so because at this point I had fixed my zip. I usually do inseam finishing in most of my most of the children's dresses I work on. So I went ahead to sew half inch on each side to close up the zipper allowance area. Then I pinned down again and I'm back to the sewing table to join it together, ensuring that my notched points aligned and my zipper lines also aligned with the end of the gown. I hope that makes sense. So see, it's already looking beautiful. So it just needs proper ironing. Then I went ahead to fold the other part, pin it down, and so it is as simple as that. Now, are you a novice in kiddies fashion? Do you want to make the next ball dress confidently without fear? Just give me 6 weeks of your time, and I am going to hold you by the hand and assure you that you will be making children's outfits confidently. I have 4 slots available in my next class, which starts on the 7th of August. Read flyers for details and send a message on WhatsApp to register. So back to the sewing table. Here I am just being very gentle, trying to sew as close to the edge as possible. Please be gentle, be patient. Knit job takes lots of time, lots of patience, okay? So be gentle and you'll see the results coming out really beautiful. Now we have come to the end of our sewing, and I'm going to place this on a mannequin for you to see how it looks. Here is how mine came out, well laid, and this will not make my child uncomfortable at any point because it is the upper part that is the child's actual neckline measurement. I hope you've learned something new today. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me for more tips like this on other social media platforms. See you on my next one. Bye.